welcome to my top 10, and this show features the solo artist Fish, formerly of the band Marillion. Now I got into Marillion right back in the early 80s, it may have been 82, by listening to Tommy Vance's Friday Rock Show, where I believe Marillion had some session work on there. And they also, on the Friday Rock Show, Tommy Vance played their gig at the Reading Festival, and that's when I started listening to Marillion. Of course, got the Marillion album Script for Jester's Tear, Fugazi, Reel to Reel, Misplaced Childhood, Clutching at Straws and Thieving Magpie. And that's when we go into the Fish solo catalogue. The late 80s he split from Marillion, I think it was 1989, and his first solo album was released in 1990. So let's crack on with the top 10, and at number 10 we have got the album Fellini Days. It was Fish's 7th solo album, released in 2001 on the Chocolate Frog Records, which I believe is Fish's own record company, recorded in his own studio, The Studio in Haddington in Scotland, featured the guitar work of John Wesley. We've got keyboards from John Young and the bass by long-time collaborator Steve Vantsis and drums by Dave Stewart. Backing vocals were supplied by Susie Webb and Zoe Nichols. Now, I've got to be honest, it's not my favourite album, hence the fact that it's there at number 10. I think the biggest problem for me with Fellini Days is the fact it's the production, it's the sound. I don't know what it is with the sound on this album. It's one of the albums that I keep pulling out of the catalogue just to try back, see why I didn't like it as much as the rest of the catalogue. But it's just the production, I think. It's the sound. It just sounds really flat to me. The standout track is, for me anyway, is Long Cold Day. Yeah, so for me, this one is number 10, Fellini Days. Okay, at number 9 we have the album Suits in the Fish My Top 10. Fourth solo album from Fish, released in 1994 on the Dick Brothers Records. Produced by James Cassidy. We've got guitar from Robin Bolt and longtime collaborator Frank Usher, keyboards from James Cassidy, bass from David Patton, drums from Kevin Wilkinson, backing vocals from Lorna Bannon, hope that's how you pronounce her name. There's also a bit of flute, fiddle, bagpipes and harmonica on there. Recorded again at Fish's own studio in Haddington in Scotland. And out of all the Fish solo albums, this is the most un-Fish one. Very poppy album, and I don't know whether Fish thought he'd sort of like get the trend of 1994 on here. I don't know, but probably the standout track is Fortunes of War, but there's also tracks like Jumpsuit City and Just Do It For Me. Yeah, that's Fish's number 9 for me, Suits. Okay, at number 8 we've got the covers album, which is Songs from the Mirror, released on Polydor. It was Fish's 3rd solo album from 1993, reached the dizzy heights of number 46 in the UK album charts. We've got guitar from Robin Bolt and Frank Usher, keyboard from Foss Patterson, bass from Dave Patton, drums from Kevin Wilkinson and backing vocals from Lorna Bannon and Jackie Bird. Of course, this is a covers album, and I don't know if it's in the trend of most artists at some point in their career do a covers album. I don't know why. I think at the time Fish was completing his record contract with Polydor. I believe that's the case anyway. Now, I do remember playing this one to death. I also saw Fish on his solo tour for this at the Lead Town and Country, which is now the O2 Academy. There's some real classic covers on here from Boston Tea Party, Fearless and 5 Years, and there's even a cameo from the writer Mick Wall, who wrote the excellent Marillion first biography, and that's my number 8, produced by James Cassidy. Okay, my number 7 is the album A Feast of Consequences, again on Chocolate Frog Records. Fish's 10th solo album, coming out in 2013. Again recorded in the studio in Haddington in Scotland, featuring on guitar Robin Bolt, bass guitar Steve Vantis, keys Foss Patterson, drums Gavin Griffiths, and backing vocals from Elizabeth Troy Antonio. Again, it's an album of two parts for me. I really enjoy the first part. You've got some Venom again from Fish, really rocking tracks such as All Loved Up and the title track Feast of Consequences. Then you've got the other half of the album, which is a kind of concept for the Great War, with tracks like Thistle Alley, Highwood Thistle Alley. To be honest, I can't keep my concentration with it, and it loses me. It's a bit long and it's a bit long-winded, and it loses me. And I try to listen to it, but it loses me. But the first part of the album I really enjoy. Yeah, it's an album of two parts, and it's my number 7. Okay, number 6 in my Fish top 10 is the album Internal Exile, Fish's second solo album, way back in 1991 on the Polydor record label, produced by Chris Kimsey. We've got guitars from Robin Bolt, Frank Usher, bass from David Patton, and keyboards from Mickey Simmons, drums from Ethan Johns, Ted McKenna, and there's also some fiddle and some whistle on there. Got to number 21 in the UK albums chart, and I love this album. There's lots of light and shade. It's a typical Fish album. Classic tracks like Credo, Shadow Play, and the title track Internal Exile. And to be honest, it feels like a short album. I think it's just because every time I put it on, I really enjoy it. So as soon as it's been on once, it's on a second time. It's an excellent album, fabulous. Number 6 for me, Eternal Exile. Okay, so the 5th album in my Fish top 10 is the album on Roadrunner Records. It's Fish's 6th solo album, released in 1999, and it's entitled Raingods with Zippos. Got to number 57 in the UK albums charts. There are lots of people on this album, so I'm just going to keep to the main cast, if you like. It was produced by Elliot Ness, recorded again at the studio in Haddington, Scotland. Guitars from Steve Wilson, Bruce Watson, Robin Ball, Till Polman, and Phil Grieve. Apologies if I pronounce anybody's name wrong. Bass guitar from Steve Vancis, keys from Mickey Simmons and Tony Terrell, and drums from Dave Stewart. It's a brilliant album from top to bottom. Favourite tracks are Tumble Down, Mission Statement, and Tilted Cross, and the very atmospheric Plague of Ghosts. And at this point, you need to be sat in a darkened room with a cold beer. This is my number 5. It's Raingods with Zippos. And don't forget, we can make it happen. Okay, number 4 for the Fish top 10, my top 10, is the first solo album from Fish, released on EMI Records way back in 1990. Got to number 5 in the UK album charts. Title of the album, A Vigil in a Wilderness of Mirrors. We've got it was EMI, have I said that? EMI Records, of course I did. We've got guitars from Frank Usher, Hal Lindis, Janek Jayes, bass from John Giblin, keyboards from Mickey Simmons, drums from Mark Brzezinski and John Keeble, backing vocals from Tessa Miles, and there's also some violin, whistles and accordion on there. And of course this is the first solo album from Fish after his exit from Marillion. Check out my Battle of the Bands video, which compares Season's End and this album. Yeah, there's some absolutely classic tracks on this album. We've got Big Wedge, State of Mind, View from a Hill. Check them all out on YouTube. Obviously, check Fish's solo website out. I think it's called fish.scot, and purchase all of these albums from Fish's own website. Support the artist. Fish hits the ground running with his first solo album, some real stunning lyrics and vocals. And I think this is the only album in Fish's catalogue that wasn't recorded in Haddington, Scotland. It was recorded at Townhouse Studios in London, and it was produced by John Kelly. And it's my number 4, Vigil in the Wilderness of Mirrors. Okay, my number 3 in the Fish top 10 is Field of Crows, 8th solo album from Fish, released in 2004 on Chocolate Frog Records, produced by Elliot Ness. Guitars from Bruce Watson and Frank Usher, bass from Steve Fantis, keyboards from Tony Terrell, drums from Mark Brzezicki, tongue twister that one, saxophone from clarinet, saxophone from clarinet, we've got some saxophone, clarinet, trumpet and backing vocals from Danny Gillen. Stunning album, very rocky. It's a rocky album, and for me that hits the nail on the head. The rockier Fish is, the more I like it. We've got some classic tracks on here, including Moving Targets, Numbers and Old Crow. Absolutely magic album. And if you check out the track times, you'll find that they all come in at around 5.5 minutes. It's classic from start to finish, and it goes without saying that all the artwork, including this one on Fish's album, is from the brilliant Mr. Mark Wilkinson. Yeah, number 3, Field of Crows. Okay, my number 2 album in my Fish top 10 is the album from it's Fish's 9th solo album. Came out in 2008, produced by Callum Malcolm on Chocolate Frog Records, and the album is 13th Star. With guitar from Frank Usher and Chris Johnson. We've got bass from Steve Fantis, keys from Foss Patterson, drums from Gavin Griffiths and backing vocals from Lorna Bannon. It's an absolute gem of an album. It's a rocky album. The rockier the better for me for Fish. I may have said that already, apologies if I have. Lots of collaboration here by Steve Francis. Saw Fish on the road on this tour in Leeds once again under the dark arches there. Can't remember the name of the venue, but if you know Leeds at all, it's the venue that was across from what was the Leeds Queen's Hall. A really small venue. I think there's some clips on YouTube still. Maybe they've been taken off, I don't know. But it is an absolutely fantastic album. Lots of emotion from Fish. In fact, you can even hear his voice crack with emotion on one of the tracks, and I've probably written it down, and it is the track Where in the World. It's an absolutely brilliant album. It's my number 2. It was a close thing, but yeah, absolutely fantastic. Okay, this is it. This is the number 1 Fish solo album for me. We'll just do a quick rundown of the top 10. We've got number 10, Fellini Days. We've got number 9, Suits. We've got number 8, Songs from the Mirror. We've got number 7, A Feast of Consequences. Number 6, Eternal Exile. Number 5, Raingods with Zippos. Number 4, Vigil in the Wilderness of Mirrors. Number 3, Field of Crows. Number 2, 13th Star, which means our number 1 solo album from Fish is the fantastic album which got to number 42 in the UK album charts, released on Dick Brother Records in 1997. Fish's fifth solo album, and the title is Sunsets on Empire. Absolutely brilliant album, my number 1 Fish album. If you haven't got any Fish and you want to know which album to start with this album and immerse yourself. The album has got everything in there. There's no filler. It's so heavy, it's funky even. It's absolutely thought-provoking. It's absolutely brilliant. We've got guitars from Steve Wilson, Robin Bolt and Frank Usher. We've got drums from Dave Stewart, bass from Ewan Vernell, I hope that's how you pronounce his name, keyboards from Foss Patterson. There's also some cello, some violin, some French horn, some harmonica. Yeah, we've got absolutely all sorts on here, lots of light and shade. It's rocky. It's produced by Porcupine Trees, Stephen Wilson. I'm glad I said that correctly. Yeah, what can I say? It's got sound loops, it's got provoking and absolutely excellent lyrics. Tracks like The Perception of Johnny Punter, Goldfish and Clowns, What Colour is God, Brother 52, Sunsets on Empire, the title track. Absolutely fantastic. There you go, that's my top 10 from Fish. As I said earlier in the video, go to Fish's own solo website and purchase these albums that start with Sunsets on Empire. That's all from me. Hope you've enjoyed it. Bye bye.